Welcome everybody to this week. And well, what a week it has been. This is our first official this week in the new year. So yay us. I mean, we did have, well, we kind of had one last week. It was the New Year's Eve special, and that went like 3 hours. We're not going to go 3 hours today, but well, you know what? It's up to you guys how long we go. You guys stay active and keep throwing. Whoa. There we go. That's me. That's me. There we go. I forgot to mute the other window. I got that window up today because this is the first Sunday of the month, which means we got some free memberships that are going to be on par or on their way sometime during the broadcast. I know I like to do it right at the beginning, but now that I've been doing the lives, it's kind of fun to throw them in a little bit later into the broadcast. So we won't do it right away. We'll do it in a little bit. So that will be fun, of course. Look at this. We've already got a few people in the house. I'll get to you guys in just a moment. I know that Vic has always keeps telling me that the first 90 seconds of the stream I missed because of commercials. So I'm trying not to get too much into anything in the first 90 seconds for that reason. So those of you who have watched 90 seconds worth of commercials, you're here. Let's begin the content. Some big news on the Blossom front. Blossom is now officially available for Americans. So those of you who are American, you can definitely sign up now. Use my link down below. Sign up for Blossom. Follow what I'm doing. Follow what other people are doing. And there's big people in the U.S. like Joseph Hogue, who I think he's got like 600 subs. He's one of the bigger ones. I know he has come on board and he's become one of our ambassadors over there on Blossom. So there's going to be bigger names bigger and probably smaller names. There's going to be a lot of names that are going to join us from the U.S. So that's kind of really exciting. And for those of you, of course, who are from Canada, that's okay. We get most of the big Canadians, I think, are over there right now. Great way to get on, see what we're doing, and start up some good conversations. All right. So that was my little Blossom pitch. Yeah, probably not the best Blossom pitch I've given, but we'll take it. We'll take it. In the house, we've got Vancouver Isle guy with a good old good morning. Lisa's in the house with a hello all, and Jonathan is wishing us all a happy Saturday. Prairie is in the house saying good afternoon, everyone. And we got Muggsy. Muggsy's here with a hello all. And here is Jordan saying hello, Candace and chat family. Hope all are well. And we got Ian in the house saying hi, everybody. Hello, Ian. It's good to see you guys in here. This is fantastic. It's great to be here. It's kind of funny, like I keep wanting to go into the normal, into the close, the market close. I even got the bell. I got the bell here. I can't ring it today, but it's here. So that's going to be fun, everybody. So also a huge shout out to all of you who watch this in the replay. You guys make up about 75% of the total viewership. So, thank you for watching it in the replay. And huge thank you to those of you who are here. Change to Spare says, hi, folks. And Bleak says, hey, top live. Nice. And we have Enid. Enid is in the house saying hello, everyone. All right, so one change we're doing this year. When it comes to the news, I used to put it all right up there so you can see where I was going. Now it's going to be a surprise. I'm just going to pop up each news item as we get to them, as we move forward. So that's going to be kind of fun. Ian says, got all messed up when the markets were closed yesterday. Did not realize it was Saturday. Don't you hate that when you don't realize it's a Saturday? And that sometimes happens around the holidays because, with all of the different hours, it really can play with you big time. And today is Sunday. So it's kind of funny. Tomorrow we're back to Monday. You guys have all been asking for some picks for 2024. So on Tuesday, those of you who are channel members, so you'll be able to see it tomorrow. I'm going to drop my first list video, and it's going to be 5 companies that are poised to be doing well in 2024. So you're going to get the first shot. I was thinking, and this is a funny thing. Normally I do a list and then I do a deep dive. So because you guys have been really desperate to get some stock now, some stocks on the list, some stocks in the wind, some stocks to do due diligence on, I'm going to do 2 list videos this week. So the end week video is also going to be a list video. So we're just going to go list, and then a list on Monday. So you get 3 lists in a row, or Monday, sorry, Tuesday, Monday, if of course you're a channel member. So you get a lot of lists coming. That'll give us about 15 stocks to look at for the new year. And the first one, like I said, it is coming out on Tuesday, Monday for channel members. And it is, I found some pretty good ones. I like them all. Absolutely. So you'll have to check that out for sure. A big old heart from Vancouver Isle guy. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. News-wise, let's pull up that first news story. We'll get the news out of the way as we're moving along. So, our first news story, of course, is the December jobs reports. We got jobs reports for both Canada and the US. So up here in Canada, unemployment, it's held steady at 5.8%. And here's this really interesting thing. So full-time jobs. We had a big drop in full-time jobs. They dropped by 23,500 jobs. And at the same time, part-time jobs rose by 23,600. So that's kind of interesting. It seems to me that must be a lot of employers who are starting to sort of get on that bandwagon where instead of offering a full-time job where they have to pay benefits and all of that, I think a lot of them are moving towards part-time and getting as much as they can out of the part-time employee without, of course, having to pay benefits. So I think that's what's going on here. So as a result, it's kind of funny. Overall in December, Canada added, 100 jobs. But keep in mind, they weren't full-time jobs. We're down big time on the full-time jobs. They're part-time jobs. So if you're looking for a full-time job, it has gotten harder in Canada to get a full-time job. Now, some of the winners, these are some of the sectors where we had a lot of jobs. So professional sector, scientific sector, technical, they were up about 45,700 jobs. So that's huge. Some of the losers, wholesale and retail, were down 20,600 jobs. And here's an interesting statistics. In December, social assistance actually rose by 15,500. So a lot more people looking for some help. So that's kind of interesting. And the last thing out of the Canadian side on these jobs, we saw a 5.4% average wage growth in December. California saw a wave growth, but we're talking wage growths. And this is a little bit concerning only because the Bank of Canada says that we need to keep it under 4%, the wage growth, to be able to hit our goals of a 2% inflation. So they will definitely be looking at that. Now, down south of the border, unemployment there, it held steady at 3.7%. That's not that bad, actually. Here's the interesting thing. They actually expected unemployment to be worse. They were expecting it to move up to 3.8%, but it did not hit that. New jobs, 216,000 new jobs in the U.S. They had expected 160,000. So the job situation has gotten stronger in the U.S., which, of course, that's kind of not what the Fed wants to see. And it's certainly one of the reasons that we're not going to see a recession in the U.S. in 2024. So definitely very, very, very interesting. All right, where was I at with the chat? Let's see here. I was right down here. King of Day is here saying, hello there, Candace. It's been a while, but I am back. Well, welcome back, King of Day. It's always good to see you. And Prairie says she is looking forward to the list. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. Now, another thing that's going to drop this week is sort of a tutorial short. So one of the things, and if you're over on Blossom, you guys may have seen these little shorts starting popping up. They're tutorial from some of the Canadian content creators. So my first one is due out Monday. So I will have a short ready, tomorrow. And that will go. I'm going to publish it on Instagram, and then Instagram will share it with Blossom, and then they'll approve it and it'll go up on Blossom. But at the same time, that will also, I'm going to put it over here too on YouTube. So you guys will get to see it. I won't drop it until it goes live on Instagram because I don't want to sort of drop it ahead of time because I am doing this for Blossom. It's just a thing that we're doing. So I'll be doing about 2 of these a month, which is kind of cool. So this week, and then I think in 2 weeks, I'll be doing another one. So the one tomorrow is basically, I'll tell you the topic. You guys can have that sneak peek. What I'm doing tomorrow is technical analysis versus fundamental analysis. So we're going to look at both of those. So there we go. Prairie Investor is talking about helium. Not sure why. Or that might have just been a laugh, but in my head, I see helium. I'm going to leave it at that because I like the periodic table periodically. Anyway, let's pull up the next news story because this is the one that any of you who saw the thumbnail are wondering, why is there a piece of cheese on the thumbnail with a top hat? So we're going to bring up the next story. So I call it British cheese woes. So we got some issues going on with British cheese. So we had, and this all has to do with the fact that the UK, they left the European Union. So a lot of the deals that we had for everybody in the European Union, we had to make temporary deals for the UK until we could iron out deals. So we had a temporary trade agreement for cheese. So we had a cheese deal with the UK. Well, that actually ran out. So this cheese deal, basically, like I said, it was a stopgap measure to hold us over until fair trade mechanics for cheese could be put in place. The deal did expire at the end of the year. So right now there's no cheese deal with the UK. And that deal actually allowed low tariffs on British cheese. So we were able to have cheaper British cheese because of the deal. Now that that deal is gone, well, we don't have cheaper British cheese anymore. So what Canada is doing, this is kind of Canada stance. Canada said, well, why don't we just give you the exact same deal that we have with the European Union, with the EU? And they're like, the UK is like, no, that's too much. Because they basically say that our deal with the UK, it limits tariff-free cheeses. And part of the reason it limits it is that we don't want to undermine Canadian cheese producers. So that's kind of that balance. So we kind of allow a little bit to come in, but not enough that, not enough that companies like Black Diamond, which is an Alberta cheese company, can't compete. So it's kind of an interesting situation. So the UK right now is still looking for a better deal. So they're not willing to sign off and just say, yeah, we'll do what the UK, we'll do what the European Union is doing. So until this is resolved, be prepared to pay a lot more if you're a British cheese fan. And, that's kind of a thing. Oh, let me see here. LOL, Prairie is a he. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, I'm sorry. I had no idea. That makes sense. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Vancouver Isle guy says, I'm thinking of putting 300K into Canoe. You think that's a good idea? That's a lot of money to put into Canoe. I do like Canoe. It's one of these companies that has had a nice constant return on investment. So when it comes to like the dividend, that passive income is nice. So you put 300K into it, you're going to get a pretty nice passive income coming back. I mean, still do your due diligence. Like, I don't know what your total value is that you're playing with. If let's just say, and I know that it's more than the 300K because I know some of the other things that you've put money into. But if you only had 300K, you wouldn't want to put it into one basket. So you do want to definitely spread your money around. Diversification, it protects your portfolio in case there's a downturn. So for example, with Canoe, when energy and healthcare, those are two of the bigger sectors that Canoe covers. If they were both down, that could pull Canoe down. But, if you have like a little bit in Canoe, you got a little bit in, the banking system and a few different systems, that and spreading it out, it gives you just a better chance of maintaining your portfolio overall. And Change to Spare says British cheese is amazing. See, I don't know if I've tried British cheese. I absolutely don't know. I probably have sometime, but without knowing it was British cheese. But yeah, I think it would be kind of interesting to actually have some British cheese. But so far, I have not had any British cheese. All right. So, have you ever, do you guys, when you guys were younger, like around the time that you were a teenager, becoming an adult, were your parents like mine saying, "Oh, you just got to get a government job. Get a government job and all will be okay." Well, interesting thing enough, cool, that disappeared. This is what I wanted to do. Interesting enough, government jobs are becoming, well, there's more of them now. So Canada's public sector actually got a wee bit bigger in 2023. So the total staff, so the total number of government jobs in Canada, it actually rose by 6.5% in 2023. So that takes it up to, and if you're curious to know, 274,219 employees on the government payroll. So that's definitely pretty good. Now, keep in mind, government jobs have been getting. There's been a lot more of them since the current government came into power. Since they came into power, we've actually seen an increase of 40.4% in government jobs. So that's pretty interesting. So some of the reasons for the growth, okay? So it's not like the government just sort of said, okay, let's just create a whole bunch of extra government jobs. Part of the reason has been immigration. So with the big increase that we've had in immigration, we're in a situation where everything has come to a standstill. So they've had to hire a lot for pretty much anything in immigration and related services for new immigrants. So that's one area. The other area, and this one I found kind of funny, we've had to hire a lot more people to cover the Canadian Transportation Agency. And that's because apparently they have a record number of complaints against the airplanes, against the airlines, the air passengers. So, and I of course, I was like, really? How bad is it? And then I took a look at this statistic. This is great. This is a great statistic. So, those of you who love Air Canada or fly with Air Canada, you may be part of this statistics. But apparently, in 2023, 140,000 flights, Air Canada flights, were late. So that's about 37% of all their total flights. So now I can kind of get that idea why there's a lot of people calling up the Canadian Transportation Agency to complain about the airlines. So that is that's absolutely hilarious if you if you ask me. All right. I have decided to bring my coffee over to the this week as well. So it's actually good. It's really good to have coffee when you're streaming. Ian says, Blossom says, I'm 14% into Canoe. Wow. That's a huge amount. I mean, personally myself, I like to keep my Canoe portfolio at about 5%, but I have that as a rule for any one company. I don't like a single company to get above 5%. They do. You can't help that. But that's kind of my area. So basically, it's usually 5% plus or minus a percent, if I'm completely honest, because that allows for fluctuations in price. Because, for example, if I have exactly 5% of Canoe and Canoe just has a stellar day, a breakout day, that 5% all of a sudden, it might creep up to 5.5% because of that. So, your percentages are always moving, but I kind of have a general rule. Sophie's in the house saying, hey, crew, a little late. Nothing wrong with that. Ian says, my parents acted like a government job was like winning the lottery. Mine too, Ian. Mine too. There's so many people, they were just like, oh, you just have to get a government job. My parents were super excited the year I got a job with the Canadian Post Office. So I got it was a Christmas job. So it was over the holidays. They hired me to do extra sorting. Because, that used to be their time of the year when their volume went absolutely crazy. So I got hired, passed all the security checks, went in for a single shift of training, and I never got a single call. all the way through the holidays, which is funny because at the time I had a part-time job working at like the Bay. So and so I quit that because I'm like, woohoo! I got a government job, and I was thinking this is like this is the beginning of something good. But that was kind of at that time when all of a sudden people just weren't sending as much stuff anymore because the internet was becoming more, it was easier to send cards through the internet and things like that. So, yeah, it just kind of big time fell apart that year. And that happened to be the year I got a job and not a single shift other than the training. They did pay me for the training, which was nice, but um, it was kind of the end of the easy mail, Canada Post jobs that there used to be every year. Prairie says, when looking into O-Text, did you happen to come across Enghouse Systems Limited, ENGH? Curious on your thoughts for a 2024 tech play. ENGH, let me just pull them up. I know I didn't come across them, but I am pretty bullish on tech for 2024. And so they're down quite a bit from their all-time highs because they used to be priced up around $75. They're down to about $34.89. But there's probably a few. Let's take a see here. So their return on equity $13.59. Everything is in the positive. They got a nice size dividend. Yeah, I haven't looked too deeply into them, but from just taking a very, very, very cursory look at them, I'm okay with them. They don't look that bad. So being that I am currently thinking about tech in 2024, this would be a company I would definitely be willing to take a look at because I do like what I see initially on them. And yeah, they are currently down about 20%, but keep in mind, that's something that can come up. Now, like I said, I would definitely, before I would jump into them, I would go and do a full on deep dive because like right now, like quite honestly, I don't know what they do. Let me take a look here. What do they do? So let's see. So they do, software and services to a different variety of companies. So interactive management group and an asset management group. Okay. Definitely interesting. I noticed too, they have a customer base pretty much right around the world. So that's not bad. So maybe they might be a choice. Ian says, BNS 20%, BHP 20%. I only own around 10 stocks. Okay. And you know what? That's fine. I mean, it's actually interesting. I had somebody ask if I'm going to add any ETFs to the challenge, actually, the 0 to 100K. And I said, those are coming up. And they also asked about US stocks. I said, don't worry, those are coming too. Yeah, so that I'm probably thinking ETFs, not next month, but perhaps the month after I might add an ETF. But yeah, I'm going to start pulling in a whole bunch of different things as we start pulling it together. And what I'm really looking forward to, and we'll probably do this in the summer, is we're going to do a rebalance, which will be great because then we'll take a look and we'll say, okay, because here's the reality. When it comes to picking stocks, you're going to pick stinkers or just ones that just don't perform as well as you were hoping. So there may be an opportunity in the summer. And the reason I'm saying the summer is if you guys have heard about my full year perspective on 2024, the summer to me is the turning point when we start moving from a fairly flat, slightly up market to a market that's performing a lot better. So that to me is kind of that last chance to make some quick changes if I want to ride stocks up. So that's gonna happen. Chad's in the house. Said, made a good day, fellow investors. Hello, Chad. Good to see you. And Chad says, yeah, BNS down 17%. My worst performance in my portfolio. Yeah, but you've got a nice yield on it, Chad. At least you have that. And like I said, with the banks, they've got a bit of struggle ahead of them. But once we start seeing some of these rate cuts, I think that's going to really help them big time. And we are going to see some growth in the banks in the second half of the year. And then 2025 is probably going to start to look a little bit better too. Now, and a lot of people say, "Oh my God!" But there's an avalanche. There's an avalanche or a tidal wave of, of mortgage issues coming at them, and there absolutely is. there's going to be a lot of people who get hurt by some of the mortgage issues that are coming down the line. But they've been preparing. And here's the thing. They've been preparing for, with their loan loss provisioning, for the high rates. So as these rates cut down, that helps some of that money within the loan loss provisioning not get used. So that will help the banks overall. So it's going to be fun. It is definitely going to be fun. Let's see. Patricia's in the house with a hi. And Chad just wishes he never got into BNS to start with. But he got sucked into the juicy dividend. And I believe I've heard you before, Chad, call it a dividend trap. Paul says added ADP, EWK, CPX, and EQIX last week. Nice. Ian says, I think ENB is my worst performance. So yeah, Enbridge has, they've also had a little bit of a struggle as well. Abalash says, do you think there won't be any downtrend in the TSX before the bull run to start in summer? I have about 2,400 stocks in BK, wondering if banks will come down. So think whether to sell now or not. So here's the idea of this flat month. So this flat month, it's not going to be a straight flat line. We're going to see a lot of up and down in this month. So there will be some downs. They're not going to be anything really pronounced. So it's not going to be sort of like a crash down. They'll look more like little just corrections. So it's kind of one of these things where, if you play your technical analysis right, you might be able to predict where they're going to be down, to get some better entry points as opposed to when they're going to be up. Just to give you guys a general idea, I'm going to show you after we do the crypto part of the news. I am going to share a screen with you on Bitcoin, and I'll show you a little bit with technical analysis on that. Chad says, let's see, down 6 to 7% on EMB. And Chad is saying, yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember. I do remember that. All right. What is our next news story? It is about SpaceX and Rogers. Now, I did mention that Rogers was looking to give basically cell service to remote parts of Canada. Well, SpaceX actually comes into this. So SpaceX has now successfully launched its first set of Starlink satellites that's going to offer cell service from space. So right now, I think they've got 6 satellites in total. Now, they have partnered in Canada with Rogers, and down in the U.S., I think it's T-Mobile that they're set up with, and they do have some other telecoms from from Japan, Peru, and Switzerland. So that's where they're initially offering this service. So the 6 satellites, they're going to operate basically like a space cell tower, and they're going to give the users the ability to text in remote areas without service. And then they're going to expand. Eventually, they will expand to voice and data. But right now, it's initially just going to be text, which is good. So this is really good if you're trapped somewhere up in the middle of nowhere in Canada. You will be able to have text, which is huge. Keep in mind, Canada is absolutely massive. We have so much. Now, when you think about that, though, you're thinking, I bet you guys are thinking, okay, well, yeah, maybe someplace up in the north. But go over to Nova Scotia. They had this big issue with some flooding not that long ago. So during the flooding, 4 people actually died because they didn't have access to cell service to call for help. So keep in mind, Nova Scotia, small little Nova Scotia. And it's really interesting. I looked a little deeper into Nova Scotia, and 5% of civic average addresses in Nova Scotia have absolutely no coverage. No phone coverage, no cell coverage at all. So that's kind of scary if you think about it when it comes down to what's happening. And this is what this is all going to solve. So, the SpaceX satellites, they're definitely going to be great for covering all of the help we need in our dead zones. And eventually, with some upgrades, they will eventually be able to provide full cell service. Perhaps not as fast as a cell tower because you are going further up. So there is more of a time delay, but these are low Earth orbit. So that's kind of good. So it kind of limits that, but we'll have to see how well these turn out down the road. And I think they will. Let's see. Paul says Friday was a sine wave up and down and up and down and up and down. It sure was. It did finish in the green, which is kind of funny because I was watching that and I was like, "Oh, I don't have a market close today. I'd be turning my green light on," but I didn't know most of the day because of what was going on, and and plus there's all kinds of interesting stuff going on with Bitcoin, and once again we're going to get to that. That's the last news story, of course. The crypto beat. Should we call it the crypto beat? I don't have an official name for it. Maybe I'll come up with 3 or 4 different official names for our crypto section, and we'll throw up a vote or something. Prairie says, I've done pretty good on both ENB and SU. Got in on them when they were low. Yeah, absolutely. That is not bad. Chad says, that Buck Rogers of the 21st century. Yeah. I think I like Buck Rogers better than Rogers. But no matter what my feelings are on Rogers as a company, I really love having this ability to get help to communities that are off of the self tower beaten path. I think that's huge. And yeah, absolutely. The Buck Rogers funny. Hey, how's the snow in Ottawa? It's cold. It's cold and wet. This is kind of like, I mean, we had a little bit of snow, not that, well, I don't know, maybe before Christmas, and then it all melted away. So, it was kind of weird waking up this morning and seeing everything full of snow. And then I saw one of my pet peeves is a person had their truck parked out front, and there was snow on the roof, snow on, everything had snow on it. And the guy got in, just turned on his wipers to make a small hole, and then drove off. And I'm like, what the banana bread is he doing? One, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I think he could get a ticket if a cop saw him because he didn't clean the roof, didn't clean the snow off the roof. His passenger side, that mirror full of snow. Passenger windows full of snow. Back window full of snow. So there's no way he could see anyone behind him. The only thing he could probably see was through that little hole in his windshield. So he definitely should not have been driving. He should have at least taken, like, quite literally, it wasn't like a bad snow. It could have taken him like 2 minutes to clean off that car, but he didn't. He didn't. Oh, here comes the Saskatchewan reference. If you ever make a bingo card for this week, make sure you add Saskatchewan to the section. You'll almost guarantee that you will get that one, as long as Chad shows up. And Chad says, snowing 2 days in Saskatchewan, only about 1 inch though. Well, that's not too bad for 2 days. And Ian says, my daughter's first winter with a license. See how she does. Yeah, see, this is my first winter with a license, and I'm not driving. I'm going to wait till the spring because I'd rather get a spring and a summer and a fall under my belt before I even attempt to drive in wintry weather. Vancouver Isle guy says, I'm guilty of doing that lazy snow and go. Oh, Vancouver Isle guy. Disappointment. Don't tell Tim Danter if he shows up. He's those of you who ever have noticed, Tim Danter shows up every so often in the chat. He's like he was like the driving instructor on Canada's Worst Driver, so I'm sure that would irk him a little bit if he heard people doing that. Anyway, we got more news, don't we? Let's get to the next news story. Cold resources. Yeah, we're keeping it cold today, guys. That's for sure. So yeah, there is a dispute currently going on now between Canada and the U.S. They're basically disputing over the continental shelf up in the Arctic. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's just land under the water, all frozen. Who wants that? Well, the U.S. does, and so does Canada. So the U.S. has filed claims for basically a portion of the Arctic seafloor. It's up in the Beaufort Sea. And Canada has laid claims to it well. Now, they both have different ways of figuring out what land is theirs, and they kind of don't work together very well. Now, they have, for this problem, they have actually agreed to use the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea to get a resolution. It'll probably take a couple of years to get this. But why they both want this one section of the Arctic seafloor is that, well, it's not about the Arctic seafloor, it's about what's under the Arctic seafloor, and that happens to be 10 billion barrels worth of oil. So it's a battle for oil. Apparently, there's also mineral deposits, things like zinc and gold down there as well. So they're looking to get these minerals. We'll have to see who wins this. Perhaps 2 years from today, I'll have the name of the winner on the show if I get it. If it, once it gets released, it'll be news. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting thing. All right, and let's see. Vancouver Isle guy says, "Sorry, we don't get much snow though." That's true. That's true. Absolutely, that part of the West Coast, you're not known for snow. At least, well, maybe up in the mountains, but not so much on the mainland, or in your case, on the island. Let's see. How many financials is too many on Canadian side? Let's see. National Bank, Royal Bank, Brookfield Corporation, Brookfield Asset Management, EQB, and GSY. Let's see, all my normal positions, 2.7% each, about 16% of my portfolio. Well, here's my other second rule. I mentioned that I like to only have 5% of a particular company. I also like to keep each sector down to about 20% if I can. So when you say, do you have too many financials? No, you don't. You're at 16%. To me, that's fine. Yeah, you're fine. 9 says banana bread. Awesome. Awesome. You always know what to say the right thing. Oh, 9 always says the right thing. Change Despair says, I'm lucky if my 30-year-old Toyota starts in 2 minutes. Lots of time to clear the snow. Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole thing. And plus, here's the thing, if you got a remote starter, start your car, let it start warming up. And then that way there, you finish cleaning off your car and you can get into your nice warm car and then drive off, So instead of getting into a cold car that, you've only got a hole that you're trying to see through. And at the same time, your whole body is like, I'm cold. It's never a safe way to drive. Ian says, I think I can diversify enough with 10 stocks. None of them are high risk. If I wanted more diversification, I would buy an ETF. Okay, that's fair enough. And that's the thing, because Warren Buffett is famous for saying you don't need a lot of stocks. You simply need stocks that you do feel that that you understand. First of all, you understand the business and you have full confidence in them. Because I think as well, I can't remember, I can't paraphrase this very well either, but Warren Buffett had once made an example like, if you have a stock that you're 100% all in on, that, it's a great stock, why are you going to go and buy another one in that, that you were not so sure about? So that's kind of his whole gear towards having a lower number. And it does come down to time too, right? Now, I like to have a larger number, but I have the time to have it. I have the time. I mean, while doing this channel, I kind of have to dig into stuff, and I'm always digging and looking and trying to keep everything up on par. So that's the nice thing. It kind of all works together, which I think is fantastic. Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. Chad says, ZID, Good India ETF. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting too. Right now, there is a vote for the channel member, live stream, which is coming up, not this week coming up. I think it's the following week. I think it's next week. And the beautiful thing with that is right now, it looks like it's going to be retirement supports that I'll be talking about on that live stream. But one of the options was actually some of these foreign ETFs. So maybe if that doesn't become a channel member one, maybe I'll just make that as a regular video down the road here definitely this year, probably first half of this year, because I'm definitely very interested in that. Paul says, 10 stocks. I have 32. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Here's the thing. If you have 32 stocks and you have the time to pay attention to them and do the due diligence, now keep in mind, of those 32 stocks, are they all companies or some of them are ETFs perhaps? Because ETFs do tend to be a little bit easier because hopefully if you've picked the right ETF, then you've got the ETF manager, the fund manager, who's going to be doing most of the due diligence for you and keeping the fund in line. And chat says banana bread crypto hodlers. Yes, we're going to get to crypto momentarily. I'm pretty excited. This is going to be a very interesting week coming up, and I'll explain all of that in a little bit here. Ian says, I have had good luck with ETFs. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's not luck too, because it's easy when you're picking individual stocks. It's easy to pick a dud and, and you suffer because of it. With ETFs, it's a lot harder to pick a dud when you're looking at well-managed ETFs, because that fund manager, if there's a dud, like if they have let's say they have a handful of stocks, let's say they have, let's say they invest in 10 stocks. We'll just use X as an easy number. If one of them falters, they'll give them a chance probably to recover, but if they don't, they'll throw that one out. Then they'll have 9 stocks and they'll find a new one, bring it in, you're back up to 10 stocks again. So they do that rebalancing for you, which is fantastic. Chad says, was at 132 stocks, down to 27 now plus crypto. 132, holy banana bread. Yeah, that would be hard to manage. That would be very hard to manage. So yeah, I'm glad to see you've cut that number down a little bit. Prairie says your digging brings us back every week. Thank you for the hard work, Candace. Yeah, that's what I do. I dig. I'm very good with the stock screener, and it's not even, I mean, it's easy to use a stock screener, but sometimes it's like, what combinations of statistics or criteria should I be using? That can sometimes be really, really interesting. Ian says, can you do a deep dive on Extendicare EXE? I might shovel my dividends into it. EXE. Let me throw that into the pool right now for you. I got to take a look here. Oh, wow. I'll put it in the pool. Well, we will probably get to it eventually. But where you're not a channel member, it kind of puts it at the back of the list. All right. But so yeah, when channel members request deep dives, they get moved to the top of the list just to keep you guys going. So here's the thing. If one of you guys who's a channel member would like to see that EXE as well, you could always just sort of second that, and then I can throw channel members thing next to it, move it to the front of the list. But so right now it's in there though. And Prairie says, hit the like. Whoa, hit the like button, everybody. Yeah, absolutely. Just smash on that like button. We'll make it blue, and that'll be, that's a great way. And you know what? While you guys are hitting the like button, let me drop the free memberships. Let me do that. So I'm going over here. I'm going to get these going. Here we go. There we go. Here we go. 5 every Sunday. First Sunday of the month, I drop 5 memberships. There we go. It is processing. They should be dropping in a second. While we're waiting here, Change to Spare said, looking at buying CSU, I've been waiting on a dip, but I don't think it will happen at my price point. Might just bite the bullet and buy now. Yeah, I think CSU is going to have a pretty good year. So you may not get a great. Oh, this is awesome. Look at this. Ian dropped that request for EXE, and I was just letting him know he wasn't a channel member, so I couldn't throw it to the top. But look at this. Ian now is a channel member. So yeah, that is, yeah, we'll get that up into the vote pretty darn soon, Ian. That's fantastic. Jonathan Montgomery also won. So did Amanda W, Stan Gray, and Country Auto Garage. There we go. We got our winners. Oh, this is fantastic. Paul says, has Vic won a membership yet? Yes, Vic actually won a membership during the event. So and Chad says, you mean Skiz? Skiz has not won. I don't know why. I cannot fathom how Skiz has not won. Because Skiz has assured me that he is allowed to win, but he just hasn't. Lisa says, retirement support. Great. I'm in a conundrum over retirement. That looks to be the one that wins so far. And quite literally, Lisa, I think it's got about 60% of the vote. Now, I just put it up today, but it looks like it's going to win. Let's see. Paul says, whoops, ETFs can go down and up too. Yeah, absolutely. They certainly can. And how does BTC write options on Bitcoin? It's pretty much the same as most covered calls. They're going to, when the market's good, they're going to do longs. When the market's not so good, they're going to be writing shorts, or they might be writing a combination at the same time as well. So then from those longs and shorts, obviously there's premiums. So that goes into the return as well. So you get that extra income from the premiums. And then, of course, they're making money on the longs and shorts when they're correct as well. So it's kind of like that. Chad says, but ETF less volatile than stocks. They can be. They can be. It depends, though. Let's say, for example, so take XEG. XEG is an iShares ETF for the oil sector. When that sector is absolutely tanking, so is that ETF. It's going to be just as volatile in that case. But typically, especially if you got cross-sector ETFs, they tend to be a lot less volatile than individual stocks for sure. Whoops, there we go. That was the question I was answering, folks. Lisa says, it's driving me crazy. Take a 50K buyout this year with monthly DB pension, or forego the buyout and wait until 2025 when the commuted value pension becomes an option at my workplace. That's always the big question. When you can, and it's not just like workplace. If you're thinking of everything from CPP, for example, because if you take it later, you'll get more. That's always the thing, is timing. And a lot of times you have to sort of sit down with the math, and you have to sort of look at what income supports you have coming in, and all of them. And don't just look at just one. Don't look at two. Look at everything. Like if you're still working, you got to count all of that too, because that's really going to help you decide, especially with CPP. Because if it's a situation, like I've seen situations where somebody, if they took their CPP late, or even if they took it at time, they would be getting enough income that it was actually going to mess up some of their other supports. So, for example, GIS. So sometimes it makes sense to take it early. Now, here's the thing too, where you're an investor. If you're an active investor, you might be thinking, well, gosh, I know how much extra I'll make on that CPP, or on, whatever pension we're talking about. Maybe I can make more by just taking it now and investing it. Yeah, if you're once again, it comes down to the market. So for example, if you had that mindset a couple of years ago when we were entering the bear market, it may not have worked out perfectly for you. So you have to kind of start doing a lot of math. You have to sort of look at, here's the one thing, is that yes, taking it early and investing it, you may make more money, but delaying it, if it's not going to affect other supports, is a guarantee. So, where investing is not a guarantee. So sometimes you have to weigh a whole bunch of things in. And I do need to do some more retirement videos this year. And right now, here's the funny thing. The most popular video on my channel is a retirement video. It's actually almost at 15,000 views, which is crazy. I'd love to repeat that again. That's for sure. And let's see. Prairie says, would love deep dives on ENGH and EIF. Well, I have the thing up here. Let me actually put these down here. Give me 1 second. We'll just put that in because I actually would like to do ENGH, and we'll put in EIF as well for you. There we go. That pool, it's a big pool. And keep in mind, just because it gets in the pool, even if you're a channel member, it gets in the pool. It still has to get voted because I let you guys choose all of that. And there you go. Muggsy seconded it, but didn't need to. Didn't need to, because good old Ian won a membership, which is fantastic. Ian says, I was a channel member. Don't know how to buy a membership. Okay. So if you're in that situation where you're like, okay, I've won them, but I don't know how to buy them. When you open up now, if you're watching this on the phone, I'm not 100% sure how it looks on a phone. But if you're watching it on like your desktop or laptop or something, Down by where it has post a comment when you're putting your chat in, underneath that, there's a little square box. It looks like a dollar sign. Well, it's got a dollar sign in it, and it looks like a dollar bill with a dollar sign in the middle. You click in there, and that's where it gives you the option to set up. It gives you the option to set up a channel membership, or if you want to do like a super chat and things like that. All of that is down there. So that there is just the way to actually add a super chat. So I sort of add a super chat. Where's my mind? My mind's on super chats. Yes. Start throwing super chats, folks. No, don't worry. What I meant is that's where you're going to go, because that's how you add your membership. So as well, too, I think when these gift memberships expire, I think it will give you, like, send you an email as well. And there might be a link in that email on how to set it up as well, because YouTube wants you to stick around. That's kind of, I want you to stick around, but, I'm of the type that, you know what, if you can't afford bread for your family at this point in time, I don't want you buying a membership. Just wait till you win one. Because, that's kind of, that's the world that we live in. All right. Patricia said something is cool. I'm so far behind. Let's see. EXE dividend might be too high, and price over 5% year is only 9.63%. Yeah, I definitely I definitely want to look into that one. Ian says, yay, I won. Maybe I will buy one later. There you go. And Patricia's looking to trim my portfolio slowly. Yeah, exactly. Take your time when it comes to trimming your portfolio. There's no rush to do it. Sometimes it might be a situation where you're looking at something and maybe something has a big rush, something like, maybe they have a really good earnings report or something, and it pushes up a company that you're not really interested in holding anymore. So you might, sometimes you hold them and look for opportunities, like exit opportunities. Prairie says, congrats to all the winners. Yeah. And I think I meant Skiz. Poor Skiz. I feel bad for Skiz. I should add, I'll only be 53 next month. Okay. Not bad. So yeah, you got lots of time to figure out what you're going to do. When it comes at least to the government supports, the earliest you can take anything anyway is 60. So, that's where we have to look. Like when I'm thinking about CPP, I'll probably take it at 60 because, I'm confident in my investing that I can make more with investing it than I could by letting it grow. So I'll probably do that. Jonathan says, I graciously accept this membership in Skiz's name. Nice. Skiz will love you for it. Enid says, I have 44 positions. Nice. Dimitri from Mountain of Inspiration is in the house, giving a good old hand wave. And changed to spare says, so gracious, Jonathan. Lisa says, sorry, but I needed to get that off my chest. It's driving me crazy, even though it's a good problem to have. Yeah, no problem. Always talk about whatever you guys want to in here. Dimitri says, hello, Dr. Mountain. Hello, Dimitri, once again. Thumbs up is done, and hello to everyone in chat. And Paul says EXE has no dividend growth for 10 years. That's a long time. But keep in mind, too, Canoe has not had any dividend growth for a long time either. They've been at 10 cents for pretty much, I don't want to say forever, but for a very, very long time. So sometimes you get companies like that. But with Canoe, it's a reliable 10 cents. That's one of the reasons I do like Canoe. And I also like their management team. Some of the picks and some of the things they do behind the scenes, I've really respected. Tim Carroll's in the house with a hello all. And Dimitri hopes everyone's having a great weekend. And says hello to Tim. And Muggsy says, I know you're not a fan of Lightspeed, but what are your thoughts of it coming back? Can you add it to the list? Yeah, I can add it to the list. Let me do that. Now keep in mind, if I give a, because I have done Lightspeed before. So when I give a deep dive on a company and I'm all in the negative on them, it doesn't mean that I don't like the company. It just means that I don't like the fundamentals, and fundamentals can change. So because of that, my opinions can change. So yeah, I would love to revisit Lightspeed. Maybe their fundamentals have changed. We'll have to take a look. You're welcome. And let's see here. EXE has no margin of safety, probably over 30% premium. Okay. that'll be interesting to look at then. I definitely, maybe that won't be a good a good one. Um, I'm going to see someone tomorrow, says Lisa. Okay. I take in regards to the pension stuff. Sorry to sour the person's interest in EXE. Well, that's a thing. Sometimes, like I said, we have to take a look, and sometimes you can have you can have some pretty bad fundamentals that can change. So I don't know yet about, like, I haven't looked at EXE yet, but you know, when it comes up, we'll definitely take a look, and I'll give my honest opinion. That's what I do. I always like to give the honest truth to you guys. Abalash, do you know why BCE is growing faster recently than TELUS? Um, Honestly, no. I don't know why. I would have to sort of look into that and maybe take a look at some of the news relating both companies to pull those in and figure it out. Um, the only thing I know for sure is that both should be growing more than Rogers, because Rogers just has that crazy amount of debt from purchasing Shaw. Let's see. What's your thoughts on day trading? Highly dangerous, highly risky. Most people will not succeed. So, if you are very, very good with technical analysis, if you are very good at controlling your emotions, um, and you have the time to study the charts, and you have the time to lose, because you're going to lose before you really become a winner, then yeah, it's definitely out there. Also, keep in mind, highly stressful. I've done it. I've done it. So, I'm more swing trader now, for the simple reason that it can take a lot to keep up. Also, keep in mind too, if you are thinking of day trading, you best make sure you have a good system. Like, you're not going to be day trading on your phone or a tablet. You're going to have, you're going to have a desktop. You're going to have multiple monitors. I would say bare minimum 3. So, 4 would probably be even more ideal. But yeah, it's a hard thing to make money on, Tim. It's a hard thing. And this is one of the bad things, because sometimes you can go in as a newbie and make a killing immediately. If that happens, that can sometimes be a bad thing, because all of a sudden you'll get a little cocky, and that can set you up for some pretty terrible pain down the road. So you always want to be a little careful with day trading. Paul says, when I see EXE, I think of WBA dividend cut. Well, that understandable. I don't know. I haven't seen what kind of cuts have happened with EXE yet, but yeah, it's hard to see a dividend cut sometime. But at the same time, sometimes it does make sense. Omra Roar says day trading is like full-time work. Oh, it absolutely is. Here's another little thing about day trading. You can have a really successful beginning of the day, and then the market just turns on you. And if you can't get that feeling, because sometimes you need to know when to quit, kind of like the gambler. You need to know when to hold them, know when to fold. And a lot of times people will do that. I've seen situations, and this has happened to me, where I've been like, I've made $1,000 in the morning, and that afternoon, I, pretty much whittled it down. So I was lucky to get away with $300 in profits at the end of the day, because the afternoon, I had no business even being there in the afternoon. So sometimes you have to sort of look at it that way, because there are days that are just crazy, crazy, crazy. Paul says, and day trading requires lots of tax prep. Yes, because you are not dealing with capital gains and capital losses. You're dealing with business income and business losses. And you are going to have to. Here's the funny thing. If you make thousands and thousands of trades, you're going to have to declare each single one, and then business income. Trust me, you're in for a very fun tax return. And Tim Carroll says, thanks for the info. All right, let's get to the next piece of news. Wow, it's taking us. We're slowly getting there, aren't we? Microsoft's key. So what the heck is that all about? So this is a short little story, but I liked it. Microsoft has decided that they're going to changed their keyboard a little bit, and they're adding a brand new key to their keyboards, all of the new Microsoft keyboards going forwards. So obviously, anybody with Windows machines, um, you know, the manufacturers will probably start adding this key, but it is the AI Copilot key. So basically, it will then open up, well, it's going to open up the Copilot Generative AI Assistant within Windows, right now within Windows 10 and 11. So I have no, probably Windows 12 when that eventually comes as well. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting little thing, especially now Microsoft is, they have poured a lot of money into OpenAI. So this does not surprise me at all to see something like this. Now, keep in mind, for those of you who are non-Windows users like myself, there are ways that you could program a key, or you could get a keyboard with programmable keys that you could hook it up to your AI assistant if you really need to. It's just kind of one of those interesting things. All right. Paul just popped in with crypto sucks for tracking trades too. Oh God, yes. Here's one of those things. I know, I mean, I love ShakePay, and I was I did a lot of shaking for free Satoshis. Then when tax time came, I had so many transactions from them shakes that I ended up having to pay for sort of a higher version of Coinly so that I could get them all exported correctly. Otherwise, I could have basically just dealt with a comma separated value list that was almost impossible to work with. So yeah, it's one of those things that you have to keep in mind. All of these, they all add up. Now, those of you who are just, you're long-term investors and you're not really, maybe you don't do crypto at all. Maybe you just operate within your TFSA. You got nothing to worry about. You got absolutely nothing to worry about. It's when you're working outside of a registered account, that's when all of this comes in and all of these headaches sometimes pop up. Now, Paul says, AI Copilot, here comes Clippy. Yeah, it's a smart Clippy. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think we're going to see some insane stuff happen within the world of AI over the next year. I could do a video on that, but that's really not our channel, so I won't. But there's a lot of really cool stuff, I think, on the horizon when it comes to AI. All right, we're going to quickly just bat out the last story here as well before we get to the crypto. And let me see here. All right. Why am I not seeing it? Oh, it's because I have Paul blocking it. It's another AI story. All right. When I ran into this story, I was like, this story is so bizarre that I have to do it. I have no choice. It's funny, when I was looking at the thumbnail, I almost put a beaver on the thumbnail because of the story, but to me, it's funny. So Google has proposed using AI basically to discover beaver habitats from photographs. So from aerial imagery type photographs. So they're looking to be able to find beavers. Now they're working with a beaver researcher, a woman by the name of Emily Fairfax, and they formed, you're going to love this, they formed the Earth Engine Automated Geospatial Elements Recognition Project. In other words, when you put the letters together, it spells eager. So EEAGER. So it's an eager beaver project. Oh, sorry. That just blows me away. So eager uses algorithms to basically map out beaver dams from those satellite images, as I meant before, and they're going to use these to help them aid in conservation efforts, as well as understanding beaver population distributions. The reason this is really important, though, is because beavers are huge when it comes to their ecological importance. They create dams, and dams are water storing structures that can sometimes lead to a mitigation of drought, flood, and fire impacts. So that's kind of what they're looking at from it. Now, up in Canada, we have a group that is also working on, they're going to contribute to this project. So the Canadian group is called Beavers from Space. So it sounds like a bad sci-fi Navy movie title, Beavers from Space, but yeah, it's kind of funny. I can't wait to see what happens. Ah, okay. Paul says, I've been using Bitcoin tax since 2017 for tracking mining income and DeFi income and trades. And oh, yeah, there we go. Mining. So if you're mining too, there's another level of complexity right there. So hopefully this Bitcoin tax is pretty easy to use and, and meeting your needs, Paul. I'm hoping. Chad says BCE partnership with Saskatchewan in the province of Saskatchewan. They went 50-50. Okay. Let's see, with 5G towers. Okay, very interesting. All right. Now, the last thing we have for us today when it comes to news is, we'll pull this up, and that's the crypto news. And like I said, we'll come up with a name. We need a better name than just crypto news. We'll come up with a name. We'll figure something out. I'll drop a suggestion, and you guys can throw in whatever it is you want to call it, and then we'll vote on it. So I'm all about that. So we got a couple of different things here. So first of all, we had a big crash. So we had a big crash in crypto this week. And the reason for that, and I think I talked about it on the market close a little bit, but a group by the name of Maxiport, they released a story claiming that the SEC has no plans of approving a spot Bitcoin ETF this year in the US. And as a result, it caused Bitcoin to drop from about 45K all the way back down to 41K US. Since that happened, it has recovered quite a bit, getting back up to 43K. And actually, what is it right now? I'm just going to take a quick gander here. And now it's up into, right now it's at 44K. So it has recovered from that, which is fantastic. And this is all, there's so much speculation out there about a Bitcoin ETF, about that spot ETF in the US. A lot of people think it's going to drop by the 10th. So, and I've seen this everywhere. There are some of these ETF companies that are already talking about which, where you can go to buy their ETF as soon as it comes out. So there's a lot of planning going on behind the scenes. So it's in the situation that if the SEC were to delay it again, it would almost be surprising. So it's all going to happen. I mean, something's going to happen. Now, here's another funny story. Now, I got a second story on Bitcoin. We're not going to talk too much. I think next week, if that spot Bitcoin ETF drops, we'll certainly have that as it might even break out of the crypto news and become a big story piece. But so the very first wallet that was made for Bitcoin, it was made by the maker of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, who nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, or if it's a group of people, who knows? It's somebody. It's just whoever was credited. So they created a wallet. It's called the Genesis wallet because it's the first wallet, right? Now, some unidentified wallet just transferred, this was within the last couple of days, they transferred 26.917 Bitcoin. So we're talking $1.19 million worth of Bitcoin to the Genesis wallet, which is that it's a wallet that it's not active. It hasn't been active since it's been created, but somebody just randomly decided we're going to drop $1.19 million onto this wallet. And it's interesting that when I looked deeper into this, I found out there's this thing called dust transactions. And there's been a whole bunch of people who have been making tiny micro transactions. Apparently, this big 26.917 Bitcoin inspired a whole bunch of these dust transactions over the last day or so. But it's interesting. So since the formation of this wallet, let me just tell you this. 6,618 transactions have happened with people sending either a tiny fraction of Bitcoin to the wallet, or a little bit more. So, and all those little ghost ones, and this is not including the 26.917, it all adds up to 22.765 Bitcoin. So here's the funny thing. So this Genesis wallet, which started off with 50 Bitcoin, currently has 99.684 Bitcoin in it from people sending these transactions. So that's just kind of really, really weird. That's why I brought it up, because I was just like, this is weird. This is absolutely totally weird. So it's just one of those things. Now, before I close off the news side, We don't have a lot happening in Canada this week, so, not much coming up. But in the US, we do have CPI dropping on Thursday and then PPI following the next day as it usually does. So that'll give us an indication of what's going on when it comes to inflation in the US. In addition, not in addition, but earnings wise, up here in Canada, there's only two companies really. Well, there's more than two companies, but there's two companies of note. One is Aritzia. They're basically they've got their earnings call coming in. The last quarter they've been mostly flat, but they did have some gains, but nothing I would really write home about. And Cogeco Communications is also doing theirs as well. So nothing really, not a lot happening in Canada this coming week. So we're all taking a break, it seems, which is kind of fun. All right, just give me a second here. I'm going to get rid of this thing because I do want to bring up Bitcoin here for you guys in a second. All right, so first thing I'm doing is I'm getting rid of that. Next thing I'm doing is I'm going to bring me up full screen. There we go. All right, now I do need to share a screen here with you guys. So give me a second here. Come on, share screen, entire screen. Here we go. This is the one. Bang. And I'm going to do it this way here so you can see more of it. Okay, so this is the current Bitcoin right now that you guys can see up here. I've already got a couple of things in here. So what I've done here on this is, keep in mind, this is without the spot coin ETF right now, without the US spot coin ETF, what's happening in Bitcoin. So we're in this little bit of a rising pennant here. And you'll see we've been moving up and down, up and down, up and down through here. So we need to break out of the pattern. And this is kind of what technical analysis does. It sort of gives you an idea where you can chart off a pattern as we've done here. And then I'm going to just give me a second. I'm going to pull these away for the moment. Probably should have done that, started that. So then if you look at the base of the pattern, you'll notice that that's what this distance are. So these ones here are the base of the pattern. So when it breaks out, it will normally go up or down about roughly the base of the pattern. So, if it breaks out up here, we'll put this in here, or if it breaks down right here. So if we do get a breakout of this pattern, we're looking at Bitcoin going up to basically roughly 45.6 US. If it breaks down, we're looking at 43.2 going down. So not very much. So basically, if it breaks down, you'll notice here, these here are our lines. These are our moving averages. So it'll basically break down into the moving average, maybe a little bit below. But here's the sad thing is if it does break a little bit below, you could get some resistance here. And that's just kind of the whole way that this all works with resistance, because that's what happens. So when Bitcoin hits a point of resistance, it changes direction. That's why you can look at this as being resistance right now. When it comes down and it hits a line of support, it changes direction. So it goes up. So that's kind of this thing. So this here becomes a line of support. This is a line of resistance, and it moves in between them, going up and down, until eventually it breaks. So when you hit, let's say when you hit a support, when you hit a line of support long enough, you'll eventually break through it. Or alternately, if you hit a line of support or a line of resistance enough times, you're eventually going to break through it. So we're definitely looking at an early breakout one way or another, probably Monday. I think Monday or possibly even Tuesday if it really wants to push it out. Now, if it gets to that point, it'll be very interesting. It'll get very squeezed in here. But here's the thing. Right now, I'm thinking it's going to go to the upside right now just because we also have all of that additional hype that's going on for the spot Bitcoin ETF. And if this thing does drop by the 10th, so keep in mind the 10th is Wednesday, so we could see some very interesting moves on Bitcoin and of course the rest of crypto as well in that time frame. So it's kind of this neat little thing. So pull this up a little bit. That's kind of that whole idea of technical analysis. You're basically plotting and you're moving, and you can play around with these a bit. Like I drew it here because I'm just sort of looking at where I'm making the most points when I'm coming up with my, so for example, I'm coming up with my support and with my resistance. You could very well argue and say, well, it's probably closer to this because we got a few more points because you got all of these points in here. And if it is, well, these would also become a little bit smaller because remember how I said you want to go down that distance, so those would become shorter. So there's different ways that you can sort of chart it, and that's kind of that whole fun stuff when it comes to Bitcoin and technical analysis, of course. All right, now I'm gonna. Oh, I guess before I do that, just show you guys once again over here. Oh, I'm just dropping this over. So this here is the Webull watch list. So this is the watch list that we were doing for the channel. So when you guys add stuff to it, um, we do that on Wednesdays. So when we do our live on Wednesdays, we're going to bring up the spot list, the watch list, and we'll add stuff and all of that fun stuff. So this could be very interesting. So let's, I'm just going to pull, there we go. Just remove that from the screen for now. Where are we at right now? We're right over here. So Tim says, have you heard of the home heaters that mine Bitcoin? I've heard a few different things that could potentially mine Bitcoin, from home heaters to, I think there was rumored at one point there was going to be a cell phone from Telus that was going to mine Bitcoin, and Telus cars apparently were going to mine. Well, they didn't say Bitcoin. It may have been something else, but some form of crypto. So it'd be interesting. I mean, it makes sense. Other than, I guess, here's the funny thing too. If you think about it, mining Bitcoin is very, it tends to generate heat because it does use a lot of electricity, creates a lot of heat. So maybe you could use some of that heat to add to the heat coming out of the heaters. But yeah, that would be interesting. I'd have to see. To me, that's still in the rumor phase until I actually see somebody doing it. But yeah, why not? Wow, although coins getting hammered last 48 hours. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's once again, like I said, right now, up until this event happens, you're going to have two things. There's people who are afraid it won't happen. There's people who are afraid it will happen, or not afraid, but are hoping that it will happen. You're going to see a lot of interesting movement. I think there's going to be a fair amount of, a little bit of volatility as we build up to it. And then also, if it doesn't happen, here's that thing. You're probably going to see a nice rise in Bitcoin right up till I would say the 10th. Then if it doesn't happen, you're probably going to see a bit of a crash. Probably no way around it. Kind of like the whole sell the news cycle. So if that were to happen, it would be a lot like Dogecoin on that night when Elon went on to Saturday Night Live. So you could have made money on that if you sold right up to right up to pretty much the opening bell. When I say opening bell, I mean like the second Saturday Night Live stop. But the second, you would have had to sell at that moment. Like a lot of people sold, I think, just before Saturday Night Live actually started that night, and they made money. But as soon as Elon showed up in his monologue, the price started going down. So you had to be in there. Let's see. Yeah, nothing is happening in Canada this week. And Chad says approval January 8th to 10th spot ETF. 10% drop in crypto is nothing to worry about. Yeah, 10% drop is not really. Vic is here. Vic, you made it right at the end. Well, not at the end yet. I haven't yet said final questions, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Buy the dip. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you see a dip, it's, I'm pretty confident. Like it would be, to me, it would be a complete shock if we didn't see that Bitcoin ETF, spot ETF, this year. So if it doesn't happen at the 10th, it's probably still going to happen. And I know behind the scenes, a lot of the applications, like I know Grayscale has done some tinkering with their application to make it more likely, make it harder for the SEC to deny them. Worst case scenario, the SEC could try to delay things a little bit longer, but they're really running out of room on how far they can deny it, and they're running out of grounds to deny some of these. So I think something's going to happen. Tim Smith says, I'm not ready for mountain finance. Is there a foothills finance I can start out on? Yeah, absolutely. I think usually with the foothills finance is what we would call FIQ on the channel. So I think there's a playlist called FIQ, and those are just very basic topics. So just things that are more Very, uh, very simple. Also, I think there's like, I don't know how many between the live streams and the videos, there's definitely more than 300 on the channel. Um, it's one of those situations where if you have a topic that you're confused about, just throw it in there. Or here's the other thing, Tim, right? If you watch a video and something in it is not too clear, ask me about it in the comments. I will answer. Trust me. I have actually, I think the longest comment reply I've ever given to somebody who's asked a question in the comments is probably like 6 or 7 paragraphs. So, yeah, I have no qualms with doing that. Vic says VersaBank, the next EQB. I wouldn't go there yet. I wouldn't go there yet. I'm highly, highly bullish on EQB, and VersaBank is just, they're not there yet. Vic says still smoke free. Awesome. Well, that's a whole week. Now you just you gotta keep going. Keep going, Vic. It will actually do great. And chat says good job, Vic. Yeah, Chad, don't smoke. It's bad for you, dude. Vic says gave my granddad's Zippo to some homeless dude. Nice, nice. Hopefully, hey. That shows commitment, right? If you're giving away your Zippo. And Chad wants to know if you found that at a pawn shop. Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, give it away. Why not? Why not? All right. So coming up, as I said, and I mentioned this earlier, we're going to do 2 lists coming up this week. The first list is coming out Tuesday. Those of you who are channel members like Vic can watch that tomorrow as soon as I get it up. I'll be filming it in the morning. My goal is to have it up sometime in the afternoon. So that will be awesome. We also, remember the market close. We do those on every single Wednesday. So we will be here with a live stream on Wednesday. We'll have a lot of fun, and we'll ring the bell. We will ring the bell. Look at that. It's so close to ringing. Look at that. Look at that. So close, but it's not going to ring because the market is closed. So it's coming up. It is coming up. Lisa is saying, wow, keep up the great work, Vic. Awesome. Yes, absolutely. Vic says, when is the next market close? Wednesday. Fantastic job, Vic, says Muggsy. Trevor's in the house saying higher here, saying here, or just here. Chad says higher highs and lower lows. I think it drops before the spot ETF gets approved, so that BlackRock can buy cheaper. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who have already got plans to buy and scoop up a lot of Bitcoin this week, like in the next couple of days. So, and plus, everybody remembers we were talking, I think, last week about MicroStrategy. So yeah, the reason that Michael Saylor is selling some more shares, it's basically to create more money to buy more Bitcoin. So that's the reason that they're selling shares. So it's going to be interesting. If this drops, it's going to be one of these weeks. Even if you're not a fan of crypto at all, and you're just like, hey, I'm just a stock person. I don't care about the crypto. Fair enough. But it will still be fun to watch what happens if that drops. If that drops, it'll be very fun to watch. But let me throw this out here, though. If you have not invested in Bitcoin before it drops, and you're sitting there and you're watching it flying towards the moon, that's probably not the best time to get in, because it will go. If it goes, whatever it goes, however much it's going to go, and I don't know how much it's going to go, to be honest. But if it goes, and we do a little moonshot, let's say on Wednesday, it's going to correct at the end of it. So it will overshoot. It always overshoots. And you don't want to be that person who buys it when it's overshooting and then it falls down. And then you're like, no. And then you sell to try to minimize your losses. And then you end up with just a loss. So yeah, if you're somebody who has done their due diligence and feel confident in purchasing Bitcoin, do it before it happens. And then keep in mind, when I say it's going to correct, it's not like it's going to go all the way. It's not like it's going all the way up and coming straight back down. It's only going to come back down a certain amount and then level out, probably go back up a little bit at that point. So it's kind of like, it's just the whole correction thing, because it's going to overshoot. It will overshoot. It always does. Tim Smith says, HDIF, HDIV, or HYLD, which is the best? Go. I think he wants your guys' opinion on these. Yeah, I mean, I have in the past held HYLD and HDIV. I don't know if I've had HDIF, but yeah, it was I like the idea of HYLD. And it does have, I mean, it has a half decent dividend, though they did cut it. But there's been rumors that they may be looking to boost it sometime in the new year, but we'll have to see. Yeah, all of the fun of covered calls, that's for sure. Let's see. Chad says China just approved a spot in-kind ETF. Solana has a cell that does that. Okay, I'm not sure what cell we're talking about, but that's fine. Enid says, not surprised. These are high yield. You're losing capital. Don't like them if you don't really need the dividend. And that's the thing. And that's when it comes to covered calls. And there's, you know what, there'll be arguments. Like I know that, you know, we've got people in the community who are very, very pro covered call. We got people in the community who are very, very not a fan of the good old covered call. They have their use. And keep in mind, too, a lot of these opinions that people have, for example, on the high passive income stocks, are from watching what happens in bear markets. So I would say if you want a more full picture on how a cover call ETF works, then have a gander at them in the bull market. Once we get into the bull market, it'll give you a general idea. Like I see them as being situational for a certain extent. I mean, some of them I really love. There are a few that have been absolutely great. But here's the thing. If you are looking at a retirement income portfolio, and this is probably what we're going to be talking about on the channel member live stream, they can play a very important role in creating income. So anyway, we'll talk about that on that stream. I won't get too deep into it here, because then it will be like, well, why do I have to watch that stream? We already recovered it. Chad says VDY, Tim VFV, not a fan of Horizon. Fair enough. Let's see, Vancouver. Those funds eat your capital. Yes, they can eat your capital, but it's still a little more complex. It depends on, like, here's the ones that Alexa keeps sending notifications.
One new notification.
No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to know what it is.
Has arrived.
Okay, but I don't want to know. Thank you, Alexa. So, see, I said too much. I said too much when it comes to Alexa, and that can get you in trouble sometimes. What was I talking about here? Right. When it comes to return of capital, so one of the ones I'm a little more leery about are the synthetic cover calls. So things like the yield max. When it comes to regular covered calls, you have to sort of I take a total return approach. So I look at how it's, I look at that loss of capital and I factor that in, as well as the dividends that they are offering. And then I'm looking for a return overall. So as long as I'm getting a return overall, I'm good. But if I'm not getting a return overall, I'm not so good with that particular ETF. But if it's a situation that it's in a sector that I know is about to do a big turnaround, some of that, that capital erosion is going to unerode. So it's going to stack it up a little bit on that end. It's just one of these things you have to kind of look. I always say, whenever it comes down to it, just do the math. The math is never going to lie, because you can get somebody like, there are channels out there where they will swear up and down that covered call ETFs are the bread and butter and the cream and the only real way to invest. And you'll get people who are the exact opposite. But you know what? Don't listen to an opinion. Don't even listen to me. Listen to the math. because the math will always tell you the truth. I mean, if you do the math and the number's in the negative, well, yeah, it's in the negative. So you always want to pay attention to what the numbers tell you. Vic says, Chad, why do you not like Horizon? And Chad just doesn't like them. So Vanguard or BMO? I mean, I like the BMO and I do like the Vanguard as well. I think they're both very good ETF providers. Let's see. Vic says, I lost a lot on emerge ETFs that are Canadian ARC ETFs. Yeah, it really comes down to, it comes down to the management. So when an ETF is running into a situation where there is a bad market or a bear market, you want to pay attention to see what type of adjustments they're making. So I'll give you an example. Like with Canoe during some of the harder times, they will move some of their investments into fixed income. So they tend to move and get into a more of a conservative retreat so that they can still maintain their dividend. Some ETFs don't do that. So you want to look at what does the management do. And usually if you go on their website, they will tell you what they're doing. Like you can, usually there's like Canoe anyway has letters. Often the management team will write a letter to say, this is what we're doing in terms of if we enter a recession, all of that fun stuff. So Abalesh says, does Wealthsimple keep track of taxes for day traders on their T4s, or do we need to do additional work to calculate taxes? They keep track of your transactions, but like I said, if you, let's say you had let's say 1,000, we'll just say 1,000 just for simplicity's sake. When you're doing your taxes through Wealthsimple, so using their tax system, it will bring up every 1,000 of those, and you'll have a drop-down box for every single one where you would have to click on the drop-down box and go down to business income. So you would have to manually do that for every single one of those, just to put that into perspective. All right. Enid says, my husband went to the front door when he heard your Alexa notification. He thought it was our delivery. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. It's kind of funny. Well, it's funny. We were watching something on the weekend, and one of the characters on the show was talking to their Alexa, and it did set off our Alexa. It was hilarious. Like right now, I said her name, so her little blue light has come up. She is waiting. She's waiting for an instruction, but I'm not going to give her one. Chad says, ARC sucks. Sold everything I own from Kathy Woods. I know there's a lot of opinion on Kathy Woods and ARC. It really boils down to, this is what I say. A lot of her.
Sure how to help you with that.
Okay, thank you. A lot of her. Wow, I'm sorry. I was just totally distracted by Alexa this episode. We should almost rename the episode Alexa Interferes with the Chat. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that ARC invests in right now are down. So, but when they start going up, so when tech, for example, went up, a lot of her tech heavy stuff did okay, except for ironically, anything with a lot of heavy Tesla, because where Tesla had some issues. It really boils down to what she has in the portfolio for it. So, ARC's going to be interesting to watch. Now, if they get a spot Bitcoin ETF, that could be very interesting as well. So I don't want to say I'm negative on Kathy Woods or if I'm pro on Kathy Woods. I just say, look at that big picture. When you make your opinion on somebody who runs an ETF, look at them from all aspects, bear market, bull market, because you may find an ETF that does insanely well in a bull market. And then maybe that's an ETF you only want to hold in a bull market. That's what your due diligence is going to help you figure out. Vic says, just waiting to break up with Kathy Wood love affair. Okay. And Vic did love her back in the day. Tim says, mathematically, with high yield ETFs with a stagnant dividend share price, if you reinvest the dividends, you will get as good or better total return than a long-term growth stock. That's the thing. Show me the math. Not saying for you to do that, Tim, but I'm just saying, show me the math. And if the math is in that positive and it's where I want, because this is how I invest, right? I have a goal on, a total return goal. So if my total return goal, let's say I want 10% or better, well, I will I'm not going to just sort of go, okay, well, I'm going to grab a bunch of these ETFs that have a 10% yield. That takes care of everything. I'm good. Well, no, my 10% is not passive income, it's total return, if that were my goal. So I'm going to look at things that maybe something has a 3% dividend, but their average growth rate over time is 7-8%. So that 8% plus the 3% is like an 11%. So I will look at it that way, because that's kind of where I'm aiming for. But keep in mind, I'm not trying to create passive income. So if you're looking at somebody, for example, if you were looking to create a passive income thing and you still want to, you don't want capital erosion, you could certainly look at, you look at things that are more on the passive income side where they're getting most of their growth from the passive income. So in this case here, if I could find something that has a 10%, let's say a 10% passive income, and maybe has only 1 or 2% growth, perfect. Perfect. I got something that at least it's growing and it's producing income. So I'm happy with that. So, yeah, always do the math. That's what I say. Do the math. Then you're not surprised with what you're getting in your portfolio. Chad says she's a good talker with outrageous price predictions. Well, sometimes I will admit I've seen some of her price predictions and I'm like, whoa, we're not there yet, especially when it comes to crypto. But sometimes some people like to reach for the stars. That's for sure. I'll just leave that at that. Vic says she destroyed my heart and my portfolio. Yeah. Well, you never want to. Here's the thing with listening to somebody. If you're not doing your own math, if you're not doing your own due diligence, you can't blame that person for walking you down a bad path if you didn't do the and if you did do your due diligence and that person led you down a bad path, well then then you both equally are to share, right? So you have to kind of always be looking out for, what's the best word for it, always just be looking out for yourself, because it's your money. You want to be you don't want to listen to me, you don't want to listen to Brandon Beavis or his dad, even though they're really, really smart. You want to be listening to your own math, because that is where everything becomes accountable. If let's say I made a mistake with my math and I threw something at you that sounded too good to be true and you didn't do your own math and you went and grabbed it. Oh yeah, I'd feel very bad about it. But that blame would fall. Well, I mean, obviously it would fall on both of us, but you'd have to take responsibility because I'm showing you things that are potential stocks. So when I do a list, so the 5 stocks, for example, on Tuesday's list, I'm never going to tell somebody, oh, go buy all 5 of those. You're going to make bank. No. What I'm saying is these are 5 you may want to look at, do some due diligence for, and see if they're right for you. See if they're right for your portfolio. And, you can look at all 5 and say, nah, I don't like any of these. Well, good. Don't touch them. Because, maybe, for example, like if you're a passive income person, the 5 that I have on Tuesday, you might be looking at them and say, no, those dividends are just not big enough. I can see they've got some crazy returns, but I need the income. I don't need that growth. So, it all makes sense. All right. Wow, I'm so far behind. Chad says, LOL, Vic and Wealthsimple just boycott a lot of her stuff. There you go. Vic wants a divorce from Kathy. All right. Serve her some papers. How can I make an extra $150 a week? Blackmail your boss. No, kidding. A week, you're thinking. It depends on what you have. I mean, that's a question that you have to sort of look at what you have resource-wise. So, for example, if you've already got, if you've got a lot of money, you could set it up and probably get that in passive income. But you could do that through swing trading as well. But keep in mind, it's not always reliable. There are many side hustles. For example, if you want to earn $150 a week that you can do. You could take out, you could even do something as simple as get a part-time job and make an extra $150 a week. So that's too vague of a question. I was going to call you Kim for some reason, but Tim. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ways. Investing wise, if you're looking to take 150 in income, it's, it can be done. It's just, it's not super easy. You can't just sort of just go bang, bang and have it happen, but it's also not that hard if you're doing your due diligence and you're doing some technical analysis on what you're doing. Let's see. BTC 100K end of the year. That is a possibility, Chad. If everything comes together the way it could, that could happen. I'm not going to guarantee 100K, but it is feasible. Gonna skip Chad's next his next word. Stu wants dividends. Says yes, Chad. Yeah, you got it was bad joke. No problem. That's why I try to read these ahead before I just loosely throw them up on the screen. Oh, this is beautiful. Say hello to your new co-host, Alexa. Absolutely. Oh, you guys want to hear something funny? We'll try this. Alexa, who rules the universe?
Empress Candace.
Anyway, I programmed her to say that. Just oh dear. There's Uber Eats. Uber is another good way that you can make some extra money, especially if you love driving, right? The only problem with Uber Eats is you're going to have to smell so much great food all the time. So you'll have to have some control. Solana cell phone. They made their own. Okay, cell phone. Nice. Let's see. Why they say spot Bitcoin? Why not just BTC to differentiate from BTC futures? It's simply because it has to deal with that. It has to deal with the spot price. So the price at that moment, so spot. But yeah, that's just kind of the way they label it. I don't know if there's another story behind that or not, but I'm sure everybody below this comment probably might throw their opinion in the ring. Let's see, because they're spot and derivative. There you go. Haha, isn't Kathy Woods on Epstein list? I don't know. I hope not, but maybe. Who knows? I haven't actually looked. Robert Collins is in the house. Says, I like grocery shopping. Know the buy price of the things you buy. I hold a small amount of HYLD to juice my dividends, and I'm up 4.5% before dividends. I know that can change quickly, so I will watch. Yeah, and that's the big thing with covered calls is that you want to be paying attention to them. Like Robert does. That is a good way to invest, is paying attention. Vic says, my dumb self learns a lot from this community. Things I have to look up more. That's nothing wrong with that. So EAUG.B went bankrupt from ARK. Oh, dear. And Chad just got a payout from Wealth Simple. And apparently Vic was one of the victims of the EAUG.B thing. All right, so we're coming up to the end, guys. If you got a final question, throw them in there. We'll grab them, but throw them in quick because we're up to holy banana bread. 1 hour 43 minutes. See, time goes by really fast here because you guys are so much fun. Plus, yeah, we didn't even finish the news until like about an hour in, so that's probably why. Vic says I have a good learning point. Absolutely. And I think I went a little longer today as well because Vic had just arrived, so to give Vic a little bit of the chat, and I also wanted to hear to make sure his quitting smoking was going along well. All right, so yeah, a couple more minutes, guys. If you have a last ditch question, throw it in there. Vic says, I sold and bought on RBC before it settled and was fined by the broker. Oh, fun. Fun. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that goes on, that's for sure. I actually got in trouble once with, what the heck was the company? that was a small company. I can't remember the name of it, but I got in trouble with the Ontario Securities Commission because I had bought too much and sold it too quickly, and they were like, "This smells of market manipulation." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, all right," but it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just that was in my day trading days. I was trying to make a move. I actually had bought it because I had planned to. They had a half decent dividend, and I had planned to just soak up the dividend. What was it? It was Orchard something. It had Orchard in the name. But anyway, oh, yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Enid says, I loved this chat. Yeah, it was a good chat. I think we had a good time here this afternoon. And Vic says, I get ineligible RRSP holding warnings all the time. Vic, you're one of these guys, though, that probably pushes the barrier a little bit. So we'll have to see. Enid is wishing everybody a good weekend. And Vic is throwing up a bye-bye. All right. So, all right. I guess we'll call it here. You guys are fantastic. We'll be back here. Oh, don't forget, we do have a Wednesday live stream. So we're doing market close on Wednesday. Should be a lot of fun as we spend some time together, ring the bell, and look at the watch list. And then I'll figure out too if there's other things you guys want me to do in the live streams, especially for the market close. Just let me know. We'll see what we can work out. So I think it'll be fun. Anyway, we will be back here on this show, on the news one. We'll be back here again next weekend. We'll do it all over again. It'll be fun. So I'll see you guys later. Take care, everyone. Have a good Sunday night.